We're live here at Podcast Junkies, Boca Raton, here with my co-host Matt. Can never get the intro right,
That
but who
energy
fucking
was
cares?
so ass.
You want to start doing the intro?
No, but we're live. Like, what?
All right, well, we're going to keep working on these. Football season will be good to go. Here with my co-host Mons. How we feeling today, Mons?
Good, bro.
I'm excited to get some
Rejuvenated,
Costco
refreshed.
$1.50 dogs after
Yes,
this
I
show.
owe you 2 hot dogs.
He owes me 2 hot dogs, everyone. And I'm looking at the What's Up t-shirt right now. Great place. We'll always shout out What's Up. Antonio's the fucking man. But we have a very special guest on, keeping the energy high today. We have Chad, the bookie bandit. Welcome, Chad.
How we doing, boys?
Good.
Bro. How are you?
Having me on.
Yes, sir. Well, live from Boise, Idaho. That's kind of a rare sighting there. How'd you end up back in Boise?
Well, I was out in Florida for a couple of years working. Originally, I'm from Boise, so when I wasn't having to be in Florida for work, it just made sense to move back home, be closer to family, friends. So it's been awesome.
The home of Ashton Genty, as we all know, and the blue turf. So
yeah, live right next to the blue turf. I can actually, whenever they score a touchdown, I can hear it from my house. So.
Holy shit.
That's got to be awesome. How often do you go to the games?
I mean, I've been out of Boise for like 4 or 5 years now. So.
Oh, is this your first fall back home?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I'll definitely, rip a couple of games this year. It's unfortunate Genty won't be there, but who knows? Maybe we'll find another guy.
Yeah, well, speaking of, before we dive into your background, some of that stuff, how do you think Genty's going to be in the NFL? A lot of people have him as Rookie of the Year. What are your thoughts on Genty, just being from Boise?
Dude, I mean, obviously I'm biased, but the dude's an absolute savage. I don't know how he's going to, it might take a couple years with the Raiders offensive line, but I mean, you guys saw what he did on the field. The dude's a savage, so I'm excited to watch him for sure.
Him and Brock Bowers, it's going to be exciting. But Chad, sure. Bookie Bandit, we would love to start off by just, learning about what made you start kind of sports betting and becoming a handicapper.
Yeah, so I actually started back in college. It was my sophomore year of college. I was playing ball over in Washington. And the funny thing is, I didn't even know sports betting was a thing at the time. We were actually taking BP batting practice one day, and I just remember one of my good buddies, Kobe. He was just, every time he wasn't hitting, he was just sweating out a game. And I was like, dude, like, why do you care that much, And he kind of told me, like, dude, I got money on the game, and that was kind of the first time I've like heard that you can like put money on sports. So that night, naturally went home, created a Bovada account, and the rest is history. And I actually ended up paying my way through college through sports betting. So
wow,
that's how I got my start.
So you went to Washington, like University of Washington?
So I played JUCO ball at Walla Walla.
Okay. Matt's a baseball player himself in high school.
You're a JUCO bandit.
Let's go. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wish I had the opportunity. I barely even played high school, JV. So you two are much more athletic than me. But speaking of the sports betting, just your background. So you were showing me a crazy parlay you hit last year. I would love to hear more about that. And I would love to hear also kind of the worst beat you have, or like the worst leg of a parlay that you've missed out on that's happened in your sports betting experience.
Oh, dude, we could be here all day if I had to talk about my bad beats. But yeah, so the parlay you brought up. So it was last football season. And keep in mind, I just, started my like sports content pages probably about a month before this parlay hit. So this is the parlay that kind of, made my pages take off.
Yeah.
And allowed me to go full time on, sports betting and, content. So, yeah, it was week 15 of NFL last year. And I always just craft up like a, fun little Hail Mary parlay. And I'll post them out on my threads, so other people can tell them for fun. And so, yeah, week 15, crafted up a 15-leg parlay. It was the day after the Thursday night game. So I didn't have the Thursday night game in this slip, but it was every other game on the slate. And I picked every single game on the money line. Besides one game, I just picked an alternate spread because I was a little bit sketched about it. But yeah, I can just read it off to you guys. So 15 legs. We had the Cowboys over the Panthers. That was plus money. Jets over the Jags. Texans over the Dolphins. Commanders over the Saints. Ravens over the Giants. Bengals over the Titans. Eagles over the Steelers. Vikings over the Bears. Chiefs plus 10.5. They were playing the Browns. For some reason, I just didn't want to take the money line. They always struggle against the Browns. So I took plus 10.5. That hit. Cardinals over the Patriots. Bills over the Lions. That was plus money. Broncos over the Colts. Packers over the Seahawks. Falcons over the Raiders. And Bucks over the Chargers, which was plus money as well. That was a 705x payout. I only put $5 on it, but it brought home a little over 3,500. And
That's fucking crazy. The odds of that. I have never been as close to hitting something like that. So, what were you sweating out? I know the Packers played the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. Were you sweating out?
Yep.
What was the last leg of that parlay?
So funny enough, that was one of the weeks where there was 2 Monday night games.
Oh, that was the one with the dog shit Monday night game with the Raiders, right? Yeah.
And as you guys know, for some reason, they don't split up the Monday night games. So they're like 15, 30 minutes apart.
Yeah, it's stupid.
I had the dual screen up on my TV, getting whiplash, going back and forth every play.
Yeah, that one game was terrible. The Raiders game, I remember specifically being just no offense.
Well, funny enough, that was the last leg of the parlay, and it came down to the Raiders having the ball on the last drive, and a touchdown would have won it for them. And it came down to a 30, 40-yard Hail Mary that luckily got batted down. So it was about as sweaty as it gets. But the coolest part was I posted that parlay on my threads. You guys know what threads is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I posted that parlay on my threads like Thursday night. So come Sunday, it's getting all this traction. It had a couple 100,000 views at that point. So there was thousands of people riding with me. And then, obviously come Monday, once it hit, everything exploded. All my pages took off. I had so many clients, come in overnight. It was truly life changing for me. So very thankful for that parlay for coming through for all of us.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Chad, at what point did you realize that you were a better than average sports bettor and you could make this a career and make money off handicapping?
I mean, really, it was just back in college. Obviously my strategy now is completely different than it was back in college. But, back in college, all of my friends, all of my buddies, like, they saw what I was doing. And, it got to the point where it's like every day, I had people texting me or calling me like, yo, what do you got for today? And then just, seeing over time the bank account grow. So that's kind of what it is. And honestly, when I have free time, all I do is just watch sports, study sports, look at lines. So, it kind of gives me a one up there as well.
Mm-hmm. And now, are you more of a gut feeling kind of guy, or would you say that you're more line movement and watching where the sharp money comes in and that type of a handicapper?
So honestly, both.
Okay.
Because it just kind of depends on the slate. Sometimes there's a great slate, sometimes there's not. So most of the time it will be gut feel, right? Because I'm a big money line. I'll pick my favorite games of the day, and I'll parlay up the money lines together. So a couple heavy juiced money line parlays. If I don't like the slate, I don't have a good gut feeling about anything. That's when I kind of get into the reading the lines, seeing where the sharp money's at, seeing what the public's on. So it just kind of depends day to day, but for the most part, definitely a gut feeling better.
Gotcha. And when we talked, Chad, before the show, you were telling me a lot about your parlay betting. We already touched on one of them. Is that the only type of bet you send out, and why do you like parlay betting so much?
So it's not the only bets that I send out, but it is the majority.
Okay.
Right? So my favorite thing to do is, like I said, I'll pick X amount of games on the slate, and I'll take them on the money line. or alternate spreads. I love alternate spreads as well, especially come football season. But yeah, I'll take, 2 or 3 of my favorite games on the money line, parlay them up, get it close to even money. Minus 110, minus 120, even a minus 130, and throw a couple units on it. And when I do that strategically, right, if I'm not doing plus money bets, I always do an odd amount of bets or parlays, right? Because if I'm doing, like, let's say I send out a couple minus 120 parlays. If I were to send out 2 of those, you would have to hit both in
Yeah.
order to profit for the day. Whereas if I just send out 3 or 5, if I send out 3, then I can go 2 out of 3 and still profit on the day. So, it's just small little edges like that most people don't really realize, but it makes a big difference. So,
Yeah, and Chad, in terms of sports, we talked about NFL. What other sports are you big into with the parlaying? Are you doing anything for baseball right now, or you're just mainly like NFL, college football?
dude, literally everything. That's the nice thing about how I bet is, parlaying up heavy favorites on the money line is you can touch any sport as long as you have a little bit of knowledge. So football, right? NFL, college football, MLB, college baseball. We've been hammering college baseball, the last few weeks, especially with the regionals. You can do tennis, right, with this strategy. Every once in a while, I'll send out like a late night Korean baseball, for the boys. So it's really whatever you can get your hands on. So yeah.
And going back to, we were talking about the most, your worst. We talked about your best bet, but what about your worst beat that you've had over the past year, let's say?
True. I totally forgot to bring that up.
Hey, you're good. You're good. Everybody always forgets about that one, but I know I've had too many to count. Can't even count on my 10 figures here.
Yeah. I have a lot of them, but there's one in particular that I still lose sleep over.
Oh man.
And believe it or not, it was last NFL season as well. It was National Tight Ends Day. So I don't remember quite what week that is. It's usually 7, 8, or 9.
Yeah.
So National Tight Ends Day, I decided to put together a little anytime touchdown parlay. I picked 8 guys to score a touchdown, all tight ends. And I'll just read it out to you. I have it pulled up here. So we had Mark Andrews, anytime touchdown, he hit. Kyle Pitts, he hit. Evan Ingram, he hit. Cade Otton, he hit as well. Dalton Kincaid hit. Tucker Kraft hit. Sam Laporta hit. And then the last leg of the parlay, Dalton Schultz did not score a touchdown. I put $2.62 on this, and it would have brought home $24,945.02.
Was Schultz even getting targets that game? Like, what was the deal with him that game? Were you watching and you're like, Jesus? Or they were all at the same time?
Catches. Yeah, he had a couple catches, but he just couldn't find the end zone. And what makes me the most sick to this day, I still think about it, I swear, every single week, is I could have taken Travis Kelce or George Kittle instead of Dalton Schultz, and they both scored a touchdown that week.
Wow.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was surprised you didn't have Kelce or Kittle in there. That's I know a lot of people who do that for National Tight Ends Day. So where did you actually place that bet? Was that on? We were talking about MyBookie a little. Was that where you placed it?
That's where I placed it. So they max you out at, when you're doing like the player props, I don't know if it's for everyone, but they maxed me out at $25,000 profit. That's why I only had $2.62 on it.
Gotcha.
So yeah, that one, I lost sleep for a couple days after that one.
Yeah, I would have as well. Matt and I have had our fair share of bad beats as well. Not really in a parlay stuff for me, but I was actually betting on overtime every playoff game, and the Chiefs Bills. I don't know if you remember Tyler Bass missing that field goal really screwed me up there. So that was brutal.
Also, yeah, I actually took a really bad beat last week. Believe it or not, I sent out a 12-leg parlay, and the first 11 legs hit. The last leg of the parlay came down to the Diamondbacks on the money line. They were playing the Pittsburgh Pirates. The Diamondbacks were up 6-0 in the 6th inning.
I know the game.
Against the Pirates.
You do know that one.
I know the game.
let's be real. The Pirates have one of the worst offenses in the entire MLB.
Not as bad as the Rockies though.
Right, correct. But they end up scoring two in the sixth, so it's 6-2. We're still chilling, right? Um, nothing happens in the seventh, 6-2. We're still chilling. Eighth inning comes around. Pirates score 7 runs in the eighth inning and just absolutely slaughter us. So
I work with a book, and there was lots of action on the Diamondbacks that game, and it
I
was
believe it.
it was really really fun to watch. The
Yeah, I believe it.
Pirates
So,
put up what 7-8 in the eighth inning.
dude, I'm sure Vegas built a couple casinos after that.
Jeez. Well, speaking of baseball, we've been talking a lot more baseball because there's been a lot more activity on it just from our clients and people in the space. Would you say in terms of like football, baseball, just all the sports, what's the most profitable sport been for you and why for betting purposes?
College football and NFL by far. One, that's by far my favorite sport. I feel like it's most people's favorite sport. And two, I basically double and triple my units when it comes to football season. So
Now, did you even
um,
have a good football season last year with how rough it was for
I had an I
NFL?
had an, I had an amazing season because, as you guys know, I'm a heavy favorite parlay better.
Mm,
And last year was the year of the favorites, so I had an amazing season last year.
wow.
And
You're
obviously, that 15 leg parlay helped out.
Oh yeah, of course.
you're one of the few that we've talked to about that. So what is your reasoning, I guess, behind like taking the big favorites? I'm actually a kind of a little bit different of approach and taking a lot of underdogs and stuff, which bit me last year, all year, especially
Yeah.
in prime time and stuff. But what is your kind of strategy, with that specifically in the NFL? Let's say.
I mean, for me, it's I like betting on the better quarterbacks most of the time, right? Because no matter what the score is, they always have a chance.
Exactly.
Um, I also like betting on, the better defenses, right? Because if you have a good D line putting pressure on the quarterback, like it's going to be a long day for the other offense.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my strategy. There's so many different strategies when it comes to NFL, right? There's home field advantage. There's different matchups to look for. Obviously, injuries are huge. Weather reports, right? If Miami's playing somewhere cold, you're gonna fade them all day long, right?
Oh yeah, that's definitely an
Um,
auto fade, especially being down here in South Florida. Then just
right,
they're
right.
interesting.
But when it comes to college football, um, my favorite way to bet, obviously, I still do my money line parlays. But have you guys heard of the term rat line?
I've heard it used before. Yes.
So really, it works with any college sports, college basketball, college football. But something to look out for. Basically, what it is. Let's give a hypothetical scenario here, right? Let's say Alabama is ranked 20th, okay, and they're playing Georgia, who's ranked number 3,
Mm-hmm.
but Alabama comes in as the favorite, right? Let's say they're minus 3.5, okay, on the spread. Most people, most of the public, they're going to see the number 3 ranked team as an underdog and think they're getting insane value, right? We're getting 3.5 points. Let's lay that and let's lay the money line. Whereas for me, the way my brain operates is Vegas knows something that we don't here. Why is the number 20th team favorited over the number 3 ranked team,
Oh
right? It
yeah, it
makes no
happens in
sense.
college all the time. Yeah, I've
So
noticed that over the years.
in that instance, I always lay the spread on the favorite every single time. If it's like a -1.5, -2.5, you can lay the money line just to be a little more safe, put a little extra juice on it. But that's one of my favorite ways to bet any college sports, and it's hitting at an insane, insane clip, almost 70% clip.
Yeah, it's crazy when you get those edges, and there's a lot of edges for college sports specifically.
Yeah.
Um, Let me see what else I got for you here. Oh, in terms of, so we do a lot of it. Wanted to hear your opinion. Have you ever dabbled into live betting, or is that something you haven't really touched or sent out to clients?
I've dabbled in it for sure. Early on in my days. Nowadays, I don't really do it just because, personally, I like putting action in on a game and rooting for one team the entirety of the game. Whereas when you're live betting, it's like you're going in with the mindset, all right, I need this team to go down, and then I'm gonna, put money on them, and then hopefully they come back. For me, it's like I'd rather just put action in before the game and just root for the same team the whole game, and hopefully they blow them out. But obviously, there is really good money when it comes to live betting. I just personally don't like to really dabble with
It
that.
gets to be a lot NFL for me.
Yeah.
Speaking of your social media channels and your growth there, what are your plans kind of this season or college and NFL for like on YouTube, Instagram? Are you a lot of like lives or shorts? What's kind of your content strategy? What should people be looking forward to you from this upcoming season?
Yeah. So, I have YouTube. I try to get free pick videos out every single day on YouTube. Backed with a little bit of analytics. I use Outlier Bet, to kind of show some statistics of player props and stuff like that. So I'll be giving out, a couple free picks on YouTube almost every single day. Threads, I always send out a Hail Mary parlay and maybe even a free parlay. Um, and then Instagram, honestly, I don't really use Instagram as much as I should be. I just kind of, use my story on Instagram to, show my winning slips or, stuff like that. So definitely, check out my YouTube. Free picks basically every single day for you guys. And yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're trying to get more into YouTube. We had a video hit almost 1 million this year, but yeah, we've been on TikTok and Instagram the longest, and definitely Threads is something we got to get more into here. In terms of, yeah, there's just so many platforms out there.
Yeah, there really is.
In terms of one thing we preach for our customers is definitely line shopping. Are you just betting on m.v.p? Like, what do you recommend for your clients when you send out these different type of parlays and stuff?
Yeah, so obviously line shopping's huge. For me, with where I live, I don't have that many options to choose from. So I'm very, very loyal to my bookie. They've treated me well. Um, so that's where I place most of my bets. Basically, almost every single bet. They also give me a 2% parlay boost every single leg that I add to the parlay. So that's why I'm super loyal to my bookie. They treat me well. They also give me rake backs, if I have a losing week. But if you do have the options to explore other sports books, 100% recommend it. Line shopping is huge. You're leaving money on the table, if you're not doing that. So
Yeah, we'll have clients that will take our bets and parlay them, which is different than what you do. But even if they parlay your bets, they'll probably add a couple more legs to it and then be like, yo, what the fuck? Like, the bet missed. And it's like, dude, I didn't tell you to add 3 more legs to the parlay kind of thing. So,
I get messages every single day like, man, I added an extra leg and got screwed. Like,
we hear it. We hear it all the time. So, to kind of wrap up here, would love for you to talk about your top 3 kind of for new sports bettors, and then maybe your top number 1 thing for more experienced sports bettors in terms of your tips and tricks for that.
This one's easy. Honestly, you guys have probably heard it a million times. The thing I try to preach the most to all my clients: managing your bankroll, having a proper unit size, and having discipline. Right? If you have those 3 things, and you're either following someone who has consistent picks or you have consistent picks yourself, you're going to profit long term most of the time. Where people go wrong is, if they lose a bet early in the morning, they're going to double down late at night to try to get that coin back. But if you manage your bankroll, have a proper unit size to where you could go on a cold streak and still have plenty of money in your account, and you have discipline, those are the 3 biggest keys when it comes to sports betting and profiting long term.
That's the toughest thing with degenerates. Getting them to unit size and do all that stuff is the hardest part. Before we wrap up here, Matt, you got any questions?
No, I agree with those 3 points. extremely important with the unit sizing and whatnot. And it's easy to talk about when it's not yourself in that position, or when it's not your money or whatnot, because of course when you're in the heat of the moment and you're battling the books, that
was me during March Madness. Exactly. The disaster of the March Madness.
You always want to dive in for more. So I like that you put such value on that, and that should definitely be something that you're preaching very regularly to your group and whatnot. Are you a Discord or Telegram group guy?
Discord.
Yep. Got it. I'll make sure to check that out.
We were on Discord for a while, and we switched back to Telegram. Matt's a big Telegram guy, so
love Telegram.
Made the switch back to Telegram. Yeah, it's just
Dude, I'm always getting spammed on my threads. People will like comment their Telegram under my post, like trying to get all my clients over. So yeah, I'm a big Discord guy, but no hate on Telegram.
We've used both. I don't know. I got mixed opinions on it.
Yeah, I don't know. It works. Both of them get the job done. I just feel like Discord can be a little bit more
too many channels.
Yeah,
sometimes.
Tricky to like navigate where the picks are. That's literally it. And Telegram's just easier to chop
we just like we like chopping it up with the guys, especially some of our long-term clients there. So
100%. Yeah, I love just chopping it up, whether we're losing on the day or winning. It's fun just sweating it out with the other people in the group. So
yes, sir. But Chad, thank you so much for coming on. Where can the people find you? Just under Bookie Bandit under anything, or is there a different name for anything?
So it's actually Bookie 3_bandit on Threads and Instagram, and then just Bookie 1_bandit on YouTube.
Gotcha. Somebody else took it before you, I guess.
Dude, I know. I'm late to the game.
Hey, but you're gonna be your big name. Gonna be a big name in this space. Already are. Thank you, Chad, so much for coming on. We look forward to staying in touch. And I'm gonna tell you on some of these favorite parlays this football season. I need the help in that front because I'm always a big underdog thinker. So
definitely, yep. Hit me up whenever. And I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for having me on. And maybe we can rip another episode come football season.
Yes, sir. Football
Absolutely,
season.
Bro.
Nice meeting you, brother.
Cool. Nice meeting you guys. Peace.
Take care.
Later. He's a handsome bastard.
Why you gotta say that on camera?
He's a handsome bastard. Ben.
We need the clock again.
Oh, Ben's getting yelled at.